Con Brio students and families. This video is for the piano students in the 515 class, and this is going to be a theory and ear training video. We're going to talk about whole steps versus half steps. So let's get started. So a half step on the piano is the distance between a white key or a black key, or if the two white keys have no black key in between, that's also a half step. So let's look at some examples. If we start on C, C to C sharp is a half step. Okay? Then C sharp to the next white key, D, is also a half step. D to D sharp is a half step. D sharp to E is a half step, but E to F is a half step because there's no black key in between. So we can think of it as a half step is the distance from one key to the very next key. Whether it's a white key or a black key, the very next key is a half step. So we're going to do a little bit of just some ear training, some practice, so our ear can recognize when we hear a half step and be able to identify it. So I'm going to play some different half steps, and just so you can hear, and we can also do this exercise, you can join me and do this at the piano too. So let's do that. Let's get to the piano, go to C position. So put your right hand on C, thumb on C. And we're going to do this half step exercise. So we'll start C to C sharp, C sharp to D, D to D sharp, D sharp to E, E to F, F to F sharp, F sharp to G. And you can keep going all the way up to the next C, so a full octave. C or G to G sharp, G sharp to A to A sharp, A sharp to B, and B to C. So those are all the half steps from middle C to treble C. And you can practice that on your own over and over just to get the sound of the half step in your ear. So a half step is really dissonant. It sounds clashy to our ear. Right? So let's move on and now talk about the whole step. So a whole step is the space of two half steps. So let's take C and D for example. C to C sharp is a half step. C sharp to D is a half step. Half plus a half equals one whole step, C to D. Okay, let's try another one. Let's say G. So G to G sharp is a half step. G sharp to A is a half step. Half plus a half equals a whole. G to A is a whole step. So, and the way that we can practice playing whole steps is with our C major scale. So just starting with the C and playing each whole step as we go. So C to D, whole step. D to E, whole step. But now we've got an E to an F sharp. Because as we know, E to F is a half step, and F to F sharp is a half step. So half plus a half equals a whole. Now we've got E to F sharp as our whole step. Okay? Now, how about F sharp? How do we find a whole step up from F sharp? So F sharp to G is a half step, and G to G sharp is a half step. That means F sharp to G sharp is a whole step. Okay, now G sharp, we're going to start and find the whole step from G sharp. So G sharp to A, half step. A to A sharp is a half step. So G sharp to A sharp is a whole step. All right, now we're on A sharp. We've got to get back to our whole step from A sharp. So A sharp to B is a half step, and B to C is a half step. Half plus a half equals a whole. So A sharp to C is a whole step. All right, so that helps our ear learn to listen for the whole step sound. So let's listen to the difference between a whole step and a half step. So here is a half step. It sounds really dissonant. The notes are practically on top of each other. They're really close together. Now a whole step is still dissonant, but it sounds a bit more open. So here's a half step. Here's a whole step. The difference is there. Can you hear it? We're going to do a little interval guessing game now, or ear training guessing game. So I'm going to play 2 notes, and your job is to identify, is that a half step or a whole step? Okay? So, and do take time to try to guess. I'll play it, and then I'll pause, and you can either say it out loud to yourself, you can try to play it after me on the piano if you can see where my hands are, or just think it in your mind. Try to take a guess and see whether it's a half step or a whole step. And then I'll give you the answer so you can check your work and check your ear. This is all about developing our ear and whether we can hear the difference between these 2 different intervals, okay? So let's get started. Here it is again. That was a half step, E to F. Okay, let's try another one. That was a whole step, C to D. Okay, let's move on. That was a whole step, B to C sharp. Okay, next one. That was a half step, A to A sharp. Okay. That one was a whole step, F sharp to G sharp. Okay, let's do a couple more. Okay, that one was a whole step, D to E. That was a whole step, E to F sharp. Okay. All right, that was a whole step, F to G. So just to recap, a half step is the distance from one key to the very next key, whether it's white key or black key, just the very next one. And a whole step is 2 half steps away. So we're learning a little bit about some intervals. We're going to work more on half steps and whole steps coming up soon. So thanks for joining me today and happy practicing.